All right, back with another, I guess, episode or whatever you guys want to call these things. But I just want to hop on real quick. Yeah, it's like 6 in the morning, but I'm listening to. I'll show you guys real quick on my YouTube playlist, and I'm listening to Brian Moscow. Am I on this one? Yeah, I'm on this one. Okay. So Brian Moscow, he's now the BioLongevity Lab's chief scientist. So you probably know this guy, the gorilla chemist, got the crazy hair. I love his products. He's a smart guy, right? He is an actual chemist versus all these other people that claim to be chemists or don't even have a background in biochemistry, physiology, um, human biology, nothing, right? So I don't know these guys. Um, that they're talking to Campbell and someone else. Um, J Campbell. Anyways, they're talking about SLU, and so I wanted to hop on real quick just to make my notes and my opinions about what they're saying and compare it to what studies say. So, chemists, when we're looking at educated background, they will always look uh, at studies, and um, they will break them down and analyze and convert the doses used on the subjects within the study. Unfortunately, everything that we have going on right now is with mice. And again, I'm not a big fan of it because we are not mice and our biology is not the same as mice, and we have a lot of variables. So do the mice, and we cannot control the mice variable because we don't talk mouse, right? So we can manipulate it in a way to force them, but when you're forcing them to do all these things, you're kind of stressing the mouse out, right? So then that causes other metabolic issues and other metabolic processes, whether it speeds up, slows down. So there's always variables. And humans, right? We're able to talk, communicate, and we can track progress better. Now, here's the thing that Brian was talking about, and these other two guys were talking about was SLU. And so again, I'm not a chemist. I am a physiologist and with a background in uh, in the medical field. So, um, so understanding medicine, I understand it, right? I understand biology, I understand chemistry to a certain degree. So, SLU, I made some notes. So the studies were talking about 4 milligrams per kilogram, and this is the injectable form to to make sure that we have the highest amount of bioavailability, was supposed to be or is this supposed to be the efficacious dose used on rats. Okay. So oral form of SLU, which is we're all using, that there's only a couple of people who have injectable out there. Oral form is about 45% oral bioavailable. Okay. And now I also believe that this is really dependent upon person to person based on their gut microbiome and how well they are able to uh, metabolize certain molecules or drugs, right? So you can't, so there is a bell curve of bioavailability and it really depends on the person. Same thing with injectable. It's not always 100%, and there's a bell curve, and typically people fall within the range between, I would say, in the 90s versus the upper 90s to 100, like they're in the lower 90s, because everyone seems to be very health inefficient, have metabolic disorder. Um, so the other thing about the study is that these studies are done on short cycles. So they're not focused on the long-term use of the molecule or AKA, SLU. And uh, he did an experiment where he took 400 milligrams to roughly equal 4 milligrams per kilogram this because the oral availability is 45%. So you got, close enough. He was using bulk powder. This is Brian Moscow. Okay. And, and he did it, I believe he said for 6 weeks, and he saw substantial uh, results. So he said he dropped a certain amount of a certain amount of fat, which he's in tune with his body. He's bodybuilded in the past and such. So I believe that he lost some fat, not pure fat, but again, water and other things alongside with it. But his face, I guess, leaned out a bit. The problem I have with this is that it is a very short-term use of SLU, okay, at that high dose. And it seems like everybody in the industry is using it for a fat loss agent because it's an exercise mimeticer. Okay. This is where I don't agree with a lot of people out here in the industry because there's hypocrisy and double standards. The company that these people own is called BioLongevity. So uh, you're focusing on molecules, peptides, and such that focus on longevity. Um, why not take them for long-term use at low doses, right? We're not focused on fat loss because that should be your foundation of your everyday lifestyle is, a proper diet, movement, exercise, all these things. And we use molecules, we use peptides to make sure that our body has an efficiency and a defense mechanism built up to not only detoxify the body, but also to heal it as we are doing these foundational steps of dieting, exercise, sleep, stress management control, and fighting the environmental toxins that we face. And we continue to face all these new things because technology advances and the industries advances, which means more pollutants that we run into because people want things cheaper. And sometimes that means that we have to use plastics and other products and maybe other gases or whatnot. So whether that be in our food supply or in our vehicles and our cars, make it cheaper so that we can afford it, right? And sometimes that comes with a cost. Now, um, so that I don't understand the short-term blast of these molecules that are meant for mitochondrial efficiency and not fat loss. Like we're not focused on fat loss. Like that's not the goal. The goal is for mitochondrial efficiency. And I don't know how many times I have to sit here and talk about this and stress how you're focusing on the wrong thing. Okay. Um, I'm just trying to get my thoughts together, make it coherent. The main purpose of these of mitochondrial efficiency molecules and peptides is they're acting like a primer for our body, right? Again, you can use the term longevity. Please don't use the term anti-aging because you're not anti-aging. You're just improving how your body is aging. Not You're not anti-aging. You're not reverse aging. Like that's not it's if I use that term in the past, I'm sorry. I don't like the term anti-aging the same way I don't like the term overtraining. Anti-aging, there's no such thing. We're not stopping aging. We're not like you can't do that. You can slow it down or you can change the pathways of which you age to make it healthier, make it more primed um, for longevity. But because longevity is meant for physical and mental well-being and emotional well-being as we age, not just physical. And it seems like everybody is using physical for longevity and for these peptides. Um, so I'm a big believer, and I've been using SLU for a while now, and I'm doing 2 milligrams right now, oral, and splitting it up throughout the day. So 1 milligram and 1 milligram before each training session. And I put my pictures online. So you guys see my pictures. And I see the improvements, and I am trying to, again, I'm trying to 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 cause CNS fatigue. I'm trying to cause muscle fatigue. Or I'm trying to like just make it to where I don't have the motivation or desire or energy to go and work out. That's my goal. My goal with all of this. And I've even dropped my calories some during the process of this multiple training sessions throughout the day, 2 to 3 training sessions. And one of those is an hour cardio, and it is a hit style cardio on a spin bike indoors. Yes. Um, So my idea is that SLU, the same. idea about MOTS-C is that it builds up in a sense that it makes the mitochondria just so primed and so efficient at doing its job with allowing chemical reactions within the body to happen at a faster speed and again less raw material needed, which means it can use more material of the body, more ATP to maybe put forth an effort to heal other organs, to heal um, autoimmune diseases, to 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 fight off infections. Because again, I haven't been sick, and the thing with these people that you'll find these other people, I don't follow these other two this that are interviewing Brian Moscow, but I know that Brian Moscow's been sick. You know, I he posted online when he's sick, right? These other people probably getting sick. And again, I stress it so much. I'm hopefully I hope you made it this far. I stress it so much. I have not gotten sick since like 2018, 2019. Not even a sniffle, not even a like increase of some sort of fever. So something I'm doing is right. The long-term low dose use of these things is what we would be focused on. We're not like you're using them for the wrong purpose if you're focused on fat loss. That is a vanity drug. It's not a healing peptide. It's not a healing molecule. It's not a like these that's what these are. These are healing. These are therapy drugs. These are therapy molecules, therapy peptides. These are to help improve whatever condition that you have as you focus on the fundamentals. So stop using them as as a as a handicap to get your your vanity of your physical appearance. That's all people really want. And also, I'll save it for another video. But other they're using cognitive peptides and cognitive molecules on the same level and the same idea process. And I'll go through that in a different video. But the SLU, I'm telling you, the lower the dose, the better. And I do want to try the injectable, but in my head, injection frequency and every time you pierce the skin, you also risk infection every time you do it. And so we have a lot of injectable peptides, a lot of injectable molecules, a lot of injectable hormones that we do all the time. And you know, I've done thousands upon thousands of injections, and I've had a few here and there flare up, but it's because of the solvents that they may use or just the place that I got it from. They're not always safe. So your body can react to a different solvent or solution uh, based on where it's made from or even how it's transported. So we're always taking a risk. So why would you take the risk of if something works really well orally, why don't you just continually taking it orally instead of risking the infection that you might get? Because again, there's always that chance. And then once you have an infection, if you've never had an infection, you have no idea how bad they get because sometimes it can cause necrotitis fasciitis and you'd have to get like these skin grafts or it might cause staph infection. And then you have to go on antibiotics, and then now that screws up everything. So now your gut microbiome's all screwed up, and then it's just a whole ordeal, right? So prime your gut to be able to increase bioavailability of some of these molecules, okay? Because I believe that they have higher oral bioavailability than what we think if we are primed and ready. So it's you can't just freaking paint a car without priming the car first, right? Like if your car is white and then you want to paint it black, you can't just spray over that. You get to get rid of all that paint and prime it down, and then you can put the layer of paint. You can't just put paint on top of paint on top of paint for cars. It just doesn't work that way. It won't stick. So think of the same thing, man. Again, another car analogy for your freaking body they work. So SLU, man, I'm telling you, the long-term dose, and I'm showing you my pictures. I'm updating you, and it's not going to be a dramatic difference. You don't want things that are so dramatic because that's unsustainable. So just slow and steady. And I look at it as if I were taking growth hormone at, you know, 4 IUs a day or 2 IUs, like I'm on 2 IUs. It's not the short-term game with growth hormone. Like look back after taking growth hormone for for 3 years and look back on day one when you first started it. There's going to be a significant difference, assuming that you did everything correctly with your foundationals, with your diet, with your exercise, with your sleep, with your stress management. So I'm not the biggest fan. I'll wrap it up, man. I'm not the biggest fan of using mouse studies to convert to human doses and doing it that way for short-term blast. For a molecule that is meant to be a health primer and a mitochondrial helper, um, we're not in the game of fat loss. Like that's DNP, that's BAM15, that's these uncouplers which destroy mitochondria. We're in the game of increasing mitochondrial health, and the effects, the side effects, the additional effects of SLU is some fat loss if you are following all of the foundational principles that you need to for health. So you're wasting your money, man. You're wasting your money. It's a you can't put you can't become a millionaire selling these like selling penny stocks, right? It's a long-term game of long-term investments and doing things like that. The same thing with peptides, man. You're not going to have low body fat with optimal health and energy levels and cognitive function. There's something that you give up whenever you do those short-term blasts, and I don't want to see people be put in that situation. So that's my opinion on this. I haven't finished the episode yet, but that's the first thing that they talked about. And again, if they're in the game of if they're in the game of longevity, which their company says they are, then they would not be focusing on a molecule that they're trying to sell to you for fat loss. It's a marketing tool. Everything should be marketed as like mitochondrial primer or whatnot. Like we got to figure out a better word. I don't know the better term, but there is a better term out there. It's just the whole purpose of these podcasts is to educate the masses that fat loss is a side effect and a reward after doing other things correctly and setting your body up with the correct tools to be able to do that. All right. That's it. Later, guys.